The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined once again this week by...
Robert Blood, I'm Dr. Blood Sr., the father of Dr. Blood.
I feel like if I was going to be a doctor and I had like a sort of ominous name like this, I think I would maybe reconsider.
Especially if he's a family doctor too.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
Bill. Hey, Billy, don't worry. I'm just Dr. Blood.
Yeah. It's I was looking up some stuff about some other movies that we might be talking about down the road, and there's a movie called Dr. Gore, and as I was researching it, like I kept accidentally coming upon like a real doctor named that, and I was like, man, that poor guy. That's a terrible name, but Dr. Blood's right up there. I would not want to go visit Dr. Blood.
That's his father's name too, so it's like, just change it, dude.
Yeah. So this movie it kind of sets itself up as being like a mystery, but the title sort of gives it away, and it's pretty quick. Like, I would be surprised if anybody watches this and is shocked when like the reveal of who the killer is happens.
No. No. Yeah.
Because we start out and we have like, it's sort of like a Frankenstein lab situation. We have a doctor that's getting ready to inject a body, but he's wearing surgical stuff. He's got a surgical mask and cap and gown on, so we can't really see who he is. And like an older doctor comes in and is like, "What are you doing? I told you we're not going to proceed with this. This is immoral and unethical and all this." And the younger doctor's like, "You're a coward. You're just using me to do the things that you're not brave enough to do on your own." And they just kind of, argue. And eventually the older doctor's like, "I'm done with you. Get out of here. I'm not working with you anymore." And, basically get out of Vienna, I think he says. Like, if I see you anywhere, like, I'm going to send authorities after you. So I think that we have that whole sort of confrontation, and then we, like, go to credits. So, like, it's sort of like a teaser scene. And then when we come back, we're like in a nice little rural village. Like it's a whole different setting, so we have this sort of villainous doctor that we don't know where he's gone, who he is or whatever, but like that's sort of our setup. But in the village, it's very, it seems like either like a British village or like a New England kind of. It's like a very idyllic sort of setting, and we have like the doctor, Dr. Blood Sr. He gets out and he's like talking to some villagers who are standing around. He talks to his nurse, and she's like, something, while you've been out, another person went missing. We're trying to figure out what's going on there. And he's like, oh no, what's and this whole conversation with them is intercut with inside the doctor's office. There's a man who we're not seeing his face. The camera's like kind of staying like waist down. And he takes some sort of glass bottle out of a refrigerator, and he hides in like a back room. The nurse goes in to get something and notices like the fridge door is open. And she kind of keeps looking around. She opens drawers. She's like, what else is missing? She doesn't see anything else. She doesn't see him. He's like doing a pretty good job of hiding. So I think eventually she goes outside and she's like, "Doctor, somebody's been in the lab again." And I think we find out like that's the whole reason he had left the village, was that like a bunch of his equipment was stolen and he had to go to a bigger town to buy the replacements. He doesn't have the option of ordering it on Amazon. This wasn't available to him back then, so he had to like go to a big city just to buy a microscope and stuff like that. But
all we see is this guy has on a leather jacket, I believe.
Yeah, and maybe he might have some kind of gloves, rubber gloves or something. But like we don't know who it is. But I mean, right away I was like, obviously this is the guy from the beginning. Like that's fairly clear.
And what I would assume it's Dr. Blood.
Yeah, and because I don't remember. Do we? Or I think it's like so we have this whole thing like this interaction. The older doctor talks to the villagers and is like, this is the thefts of body, or the people going missing and the thefts from my office and stuff. It's got to be connected. Somebody's doing something they're not supposed to. And the villagers are like, we should search the whole town. And the doctor's like, I mean, yeah, that seems like a good idea, but the town's so small. If somebody's doing something, they're probably on the outskirts of town. Like, I don't know, the mines? There's a bunch of old abandoned mines nearby. That seems like a good place for somebody to be hiding out. And so they're like, okay, yeah, we should do that. And we cut right from that to our mystery thief. Again, we're only seeing him, like waist down. He's got that bottle that he stole. He hangs it on like an IV pole, and it's like doing a drip into the missing man that we know just went missing. He's like laying on a slab, and he while that's going on, our mystery man also he gets like a bottle of chloroform that he sticks in his pocket, and also takes like an old style syringe. Like before we had disposable syringes, there's like the metal and glass syringes. He like gets it out of like an autoclave where it's been like sterilized or whatever, and I think we go straight from him getting that stuff to him sneaking into somebody else's room at night, knocking him out with chloroform, and injecting him with something, and in the struggle he drops the syringe, which breaks, being glass, so he drags the body away, but he leaves the syringe abandoned, and then we see him taking that body to the mine, and we just cut to like the next day or a couple days later or whatever. A young man shows up at the old doctor's office and wants to talk to him, and they're like, oh yeah, he's talking to somebody else right now, but and he's like, oh, I'll just pop in and say hi. And then we discover that this is Peter Blood, son of Dr. Blood Sr., who's our doctor that we've previously met. So I mean, right away I was like, okay, so Peter is doing yeah. It didn't feel like much of a mystery at all.
Yeah.
But they did. I mean, I guess they try to hide it. Like Peter seems, especially here at the beginning, he seems, very sane and very friendly and kind and happy to see his dad again, and like that he wants to work. Like he had went away to school somewhere and he's just back in town and he's trying to decide if he's gonna open up a practice here in town or he's gonna try to go to a bigger city or do continue his schooling to get a specialty or whatever. And him and his dad talk about that and everything. But yeah, he seems normal and well adjusted from this point, but still, I was just like, this is clearly, we know he was away studying medicine, and we saw a young doctor getting yelled at by an older doctor at the beginning. It seems pretty cut and dry here.
Doesn't work at all. Doesn't work at all. They could have done one other thing of like, they could have done anything else to make us try and think it was not him, and they didn't do it at all. It just
no.
And
I mean, even the title, like Dr. Blood's coffin. We know they're setting us up. The only way to interpret that in any other way is like what maybe elder Dr. Blood's going to get killed and put in a coffin. But
Right, yeah.
I mean, the title's so ominous. It was just like, yeah, of course, Dr. Blood is the bad guy, and it all just kind of like seems a little too obvious. But in this early scene, or this sort of introduction with Peter, like, yeah, he seems very friendly. He seems, the doctor's nurse, her name's Linda, and it seems like he hired her after Peter went away to school. So he'd never met her before, but she's young and attractive, and he's kind of like, I might want to stick around here and maybe start up a relationship with this lady. She seems nice. While they're all talking, a police officer comes in, and he's like, Dr. Blood, to the senior Dr. Blood, like, this syringe was found at the scene of the most recent, abduction, and this is our first clue. Does this syringe look familiar to you? And he's like, well, I mean, yeah, I have syringes like that, but, it's a common kind. And Linda's like, I know we did have some stolen, though, so it could be. And the officer's like, there is some residue of what was in there. Do you think you could test it somehow? Figure out where it came from? What's in there? That might help us figure out what's going on. The doctor's like, yeah, sure, we can try. And I think Peter is like, yeah, I did like biochemistry. That I could probably help with that. And I think that's also when like the officer's like, we're also going to start searching the town and the outskirts. So I think we're going to try to go into the mines. We're going to see if we can figure out, because George Beale was taken last night. That's where we got the syringe. But maybe we can get to him before he's, whatever happens. And Peter's like, oh, I played in the mines all the time when I was a kid. I know them like the back of my hand. I could totally help you out with that. And the officer's like, great. That would be a huge help, because none of us have ever been down in them. They've been decommissioned for so long. So that seems good. And then we cut from that to George Beale, who, we had the previous guy who was like unconscious, but Beale wakes up. He's like kind of half paralyzed from whatever he's been, the chloroform or the injections or whatever. But, it's one of those things where like he knows like I'm in danger. I got to use every ounce of strength and willpower I have. And he manages to like start dragging himself across the ground. He's trying to get to safety. And I think that's when Peter and a bunch of other villagers and the police officer all arrive.
This is probably the best thing about this movie is it's really beautiful. I mean, they're driving around this. I don't know. Is it Scotland or
I think so. It seems like it. The town's called Port Cairn, which sounds like a Scottish kind of name.
Yeah, or someplace in England. I don't know, but it's beautiful. And they drive up to these old, like, I don't know what they are, like. But anyway, they go up. So anyway, they drive up there, and it's this beautiful drive. And then they go into this dark places to go look around. So it's a cool dichotomy there,
Yeah, because like the entrances to the mines are like these. I mean, they're ruined. They're not like whole, but they're like these beautiful stone tower type buildings. Kind of just very aesthetically sort of disheveled. Like part of the wall broken away, but it still just looks beautiful. Like you just want to be there and like touch these very old buildings and everything. And yeah, everything's bright and green grass. It's just and like you said, then they go down into just like these dark catacombs. It's very different. And if somehow you haven't figured out that Peter is the villain here, this whole setup is brilliant for him, because he's helping, but like he can also steer the investigation. So like he sends some of the villagers down one shaft, and he's like, okay, these go this direction. If you go along there, we'll go in the other side, and we'll meet you in the middle, and we'll have seen everything then. So him and the cop go down to the further entrance and go down, and like they're together for a little bit, but then he's like, there's like a fork, and he's like, yeah, there's a split here, but I think he says like 300 yards ahead, it reconnects. So why don't we split up and we'll just meet ahead in a little bit, and that way we can cover our bases a little more quickly. The cop thinks that's a great idea. But, so as soon as they split, of course, we see that the direction Peter went, that's where the hidden lab is. So, I mean, now the mystery is gone. If you hadn't figured it out, Peter, he's gone to his secret lair and diverted any other attention away from it. But what he does find is George Beale is missing, and he's like, oh, fuck, oh, no. And so he's like looking around, but, he's on a time crunch here because he's got to meet the police officer. So he looks around as best he can. He can't find Beale, and he's like, okay, I'm going to have to figure this out later. So I think, in fact, like the police officer's like, Peter, where are you? I'm back where the where it joins, and he's like, oh yeah, I saw something, but everything's fine. It's nothing. So they meet up with the rest of the villagers, and they're just like, okay, we've looked through the mines. It's not down there. And of course everybody else is like, yeah, we saw everything. Everything's good. And trusting that Peter's being honest about his part, the mines have now been like sort of, we don't have to look in the mines anymore. We know that's not where it's going on. So good on Peter there. That's pretty smart. And when they get out, though, Linda is there in her car waiting. She was going to pick Peter up to take him back home. And so it's clear that she's into Peter, too. Like, they have chemistry right away. But now Peter's kind of being really rude to her. Like, he's distracted. He's like, where did George go? I'm in trouble. This could be bad. So he's, like, speeding, trying to get home so that he can go back out to figure out what's going on. And she's trying to talk to him, and he's like, oh, what'd you say? And she's like, I was asking about, I forget what she starts, and he's like, oh, that could probably be, and she's like, yeah, I just said that. Like, you didn't listen to anything I said? And he's like, sorry, I've got other things on my mind. And like, you can tell, like, her feelings are hurt. She was like excited to like get to know him and everything, and he just doesn't seem interested in her right now. I think while this is all going on, we keep cutting to Beale, who is like, he's eventually gotten out of the mine and he's crawling around in the grass. He's mostly paralyzed, but he's doing his best, and he's really, making progress.
He's trying to get to the seashore, right? Is that like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We see the ocean off in the distance, and he's just trying to get to safety. But I think we get Peter. He goes back and he looks around he's just narrowly missed. George keeps getting a little further out than Peter is expecting, so he just keeps missing finding him. So he gives up and he goes back to town, and he goes to speak to the sort of like mortuary, the director of the mortuary, Mr. Morton, and they talk a little bit like that. They're probably going to be working closely together as all this investigation goes on. And Morton's main deal is he's an alcoholic. Like, every time we have a scene with him, he sneaks away and is like, he's got a bottle he's taking a nip from. Then Peter goes back to talk to his dad and is like, his dad's like, yeah, I tried to do tests, but there was just that one drop in the vial, so I'm not really, it's very inconclusive. I can't really get much out of that. I think I'm going to go back to town, to like the bigger town, and do like a spectrum test, and see if we can figure anything out there. So he leaves, and we have Peter talking to Linda, just about the investigation and what the next steps are. And then she sees this, like, they're at a table where all of like Dr. Blood Sr.'s gear is, and of course Linda's very familiar with all of his equipment as his nurse. She sees this strange little vial that like doesn't fit in, and she picks it up and she's like, what is this? Do you recognize this? And Peter right away like gets very defensive. He like kind of snatches it away, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that was a gift from a friend back in university. It's a little joke, inside joke we had. It originally was a container for poison arrows, used by natives in South America." And she's like, "Oh, what is it? Cura something. Curare. She's like, oh, like curare, and he's like, oh yeah, you know your stuff. And he's like, but yeah, it doesn't have that in it anymore. You know, it's just he collected it, you know, and gave it to me as a gift. She's like, well, what's in it now? And he's like, oh, it's just honey. And he like dips his finger in it and licks it. And he's like, you want to taste? And she's like, no, that's fine. And so, you know, so he's tasted it. So like that again, you know, it seems like that kind of like derails her being too suspicious. Like, okay, it must not be curare because he's willing to taste it. Then we have like the cop bursts back in and he's like, I need your help right away. George Beale's been found. He was kind of close to the mines off, you know, on the beach. And I mean, right away, like we can see that Peter looks very nervous about this. He's making some very concerned faces, but somehow Linda and the police officer don't seem to notice. And so, you know, Peter is riding with the cop as they're speeding over to talk to, or to see what they can find out from George. And Peter is asking all the wrong kind of questions. He's like, so is George awake? Was he able to talk? Does he seem like he has any memories? And, you know, the cop's like, you know, he seems kind of out of it, but maybe he'll you know, kind of come back to it. And, you know, so right away, as soon as Peter stands over George, he starts really trying to talk. George seems, you know, kind of shaken up. And Peter's like, oh, let me give him something. This might help wake him up. But again, I don't know how no one's figuring out what's going on. He injects him and George immediately dies. Like, it's so obvious. He just poisoned George in front of a cop.
Right.
And, you know, right away, like, Peter gets up and he's like, oh, I tried my best, but it's just too late. If you guys can get him out to Morton's mortuary, I'll head over there and we can do the post-mortem there and see if we can figure anything else out there. So Peter, you know, does head over there and Morton is kind of laying out the body and everything. And Peter's like, yeah, I've got a lot of stuff I need to do first before you can do any of your stuff. I hope that's okay. If you can just take a break from your thing for a little bit. And Morton's like, oh yeah, I still hand mix my embalming fluid. It's going to take me a little while to get ready. So, you do your thing and I'll do my stuff later. But really Peter just kind of like does like a little cursory glance over Beale and then just leaves. Of course he knows he doesn't really need to do anything. He knows what happened. He did it all right. After he leaves, we cut to like later on in the day, and again, as you were saying about how beautiful this area is, he goes on a nice hike with Linda. They just like walking around, looking at the beautiful fields and the old architecture and everything.
Yeah.
And you know, they go down to the beach, and they're just talking about their backgrounds. How he was in Cub Scouts, and that's how he got into being a doctor, was like doing first aid there and realizing that he enjoyed it and that he was good at it, and of course had the connection with his dad and all that.
And this is actually, I think, the best scene in the film, actually, is when he starts talking about his time at the university, and he's talking about how he wanted to do work with this professor who was always holding him back, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really like, it's subtle. Like as he's talking, he just kind of gets like a little bit more agitated and more, and like he's like kind of ranting by the end of it. But it's like, it's not obvious that he's insane. Like it's right on the cusp where Linda's like, like she's a little off-put by it, but not a lot, you know, like he hasn't like gone full like villain monologue or anything, but she's sensing that like there's something going on under the surface with Peter. It
reminded me of Peter Cushing in the Hammer movies, his Frankenstein. You know, is it a drive or is it insanity? You know, it's that kind of, it's that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, that gray area between those two. I mean, that's sort of like the heart of a good mad scientist story, is like they're not they're not like fully insane. They're just really driven in this one specific way, and they will pursue it, by any means necessary, no matter the cost. And that's the madness, is that like you keep pushing that, and suddenly it's okay if I steal some stuff. It's okay if I, have to kill a few people, because for the betterment of mankind,
Exactly.
you got to crack a few eggs, kind of thing. But like, like it's not just like overtly evil. Like, I just want to kill because I want to kill. I'm a bad guy. It's like I have good intentions, but I'm going about them in a corrupt way because I'm so focused.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what you get here, where like Peter definitely sort of reveals himself as that kind of mad scientist, where like, yeah, he's not like a criminal mastermind. He's not overtly just wanting to like hurt people because that's fun or good for him. But if it gets him to his ultimate goal, it's worth it.
Exactly. And I can see where she finds it, exciting to hear what he's talking about. But she does seem a little like, I don't know, a little worried by what he's talking about.
Yeah, if you've lived your whole life in a small town and everyone you know has also lived their whole lives there, like that idea of that level of ambition and drive is probably a little foreign to you. Like you people just like, I grew up and my dad worked at the mill, so I worked at the mill, and my kids will work. Like there's just there's not this like compulsion to do something important, and so yeah, I think it would be kind of exciting, and new. And you also get here that like Peter is so focused on that like this is sort of his like Frankenstein moment where like that's all he's focused on for so long, and he like they kiss at the end of sort of his rant, and then he pauses and he's like, it's funny, I thought I had everything figured out. I thought I knew the path of my whole life, but I didn't count on running into you. So it's almost like, it's like the thing with Elizabeth where it's like, in order to be a single-minded mad scientist, you can't have these relationships. And suddenly he's like, this changes things. I like this, and this feels good.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means for my like, one, drive that I've been so focused on for so long.
Yeah. Good point. And this thing of like saying I wanted to go further, but he kept holding me back, and that echoes throughout the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm. And so from there we go. It's like that night, and Peter sneaks back into the mortuary. We see, Morton is asleep upstairs, and he wants to, work on Beale. But now we see that the reason he didn't have to do a post-mortem is Beale is not dead. Beale is, paralyzed in some way, but like so whatever he injected him with did not kill him. It just made him seem dead. And so Peter is like starting to do some work, and in the process he knocks something over, like, makes a loud clattering noise that wakes up Morton.
And what we can do is we can see his eyes moving around. That's how we know he's alive.
Yeah, we see his eyes, and I think we also see his hand move, which are two sort of classic Frankenstein monster giveaways that the creature is alive.
Wow.
It's always the hand twitching and the eye, seeing the eyes. But of course, so Morton hears the noise and comes down to see what's happening, and he right away also sees that Beale is not dead. And he's like, "What are you doing, Peter? He's alive. This is great." And Peter's like, just go back to bed. Don't worry what I'm doing here. It might look like Beale's alive, but I promise you he's not going to survive tonight. He was injected with curare. He is going to die, but I can make his death count. I can use this for a great scientific discovery. So this sort of echoes the beginning scene. And, Morton is like, no, if he's alive, if he's, if there's even a chance, we can't just kill him. Like, we have to do this. And Peter's like, no, his heart is going to go on to do something great. And I think we also get like the first instance here where he's like, George Beale didn't really matter. He just was like, he went to work. He went to the bars after work. He didn't. No one's gonna miss him. He doesn't matter. But his heart could do something great for science. It could extend an important life. And once you start designating what lives matter and what lives don't, you have gone down the evil path at that point.
Right. And he says here he's going to take the brain out and put it somewhere else. But that's the first we've heard of this, and we're about 2/3 of the way into this movie, which is too late, really, for me, because I was just like, what is his purpose? So far, I've been just like, what is he up to, And when he says he's going to put it into another body, I was like, where's this other body? So I was really lost, at this point, to tell you the
That
truth.
is like the missing thing here. Like when he finally gets to, when we get to the end, when he finally gets to try his experiment, it doesn't seem like he has a body ready. Like but yeah, the I guess like sort of the hook of this, which I mean is real science at this point outside of all the curare and all that. Like he wants to do heart transplants. He wants to extend life, which we do now. But we obviously all of the experiments that have been done in real life around this were done without murdering people.
Sure.
But so Morton obviously is trying to stop this. He's not okay with it, and Peter ends up like shoving him, and he like falls and hits his head and dies. So he has Morton has died, and while all that was going on, Beale's heart has stopped beating, and it seems like this is the thing specifically, is that like he needs a fresh, still beating heart that he can take out and put in. Which again, we don't have anybody to put this in. What is he going to do with his heart?
That's why I was so frustrated.
Yeah. So the heart stopped beating. Yeah. There's definitely some plot holes here, but he's like, oh well, I guess I got to kill somebody else because this heart's no good now. Right. And here's where we get the titular Coffin.
Coffin, at last.
Which is that he's got to hide Morton's body, and so he opens like Morton's like the basement of the mortuary has this huge like bank vault type door that he opens, and there's just a coffin in there, and so he just hides Morton's body in that coffin and closes the bank vault
with Beale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, so they're hidden in there together, and then we just have like Peter getting back home, and it's like he'd snuck out at night, and now it's like first thing in the morning, and Linda is like walking around the house like, hey Peter, where are you? I've got some coffee. And then Peter walks in the front door, and he was like, oh, I had to leave early because we needed to do the embalming for Beale, and Morton's missing. I guess he must be on how he is, drinking. He's out on a bender somewhere, but like embalming is you got to do it in a timely fashion. You can't just leave a body rotting. And Linda's like, oh, we should let the police know if Morton's missing, though, especially with all these missing persons. Like, and yeah, Peter's like, yeah, I guess so. I looked all around his house. I couldn't find him anywhere. So like she goes to get him some coffee, and when she comes back, he's fallen asleep on the couch. He's been up all night. And, we get this sweet little moment where she kind of like tucks him in, like, he deserves his rest. She like closes the curtains to like get the sun out of his face and everything. And then we cut to just like later on that afternoon. Linda is out in the village doing some like grocery shopping, and Peter pulls up, and he's had time to sleep or whatever. And he's like, hey, you wanna go for a drive? And she's like, sure, yeah, I'm finished up shopping. So they go driving out to the countryside, and they go back to those mine tunnels. And he's like, we should go exploring. I used to love this when I was a kid. And we get another sort of monologue from him where like it's right on the cusp of like there's something sort of like sweet and real about it, but there's also just something a little insane about it.
I wondered. I couldn't tell. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this, like, I like, this might be my favorite scene in this, is like he talks about, like, he would go into these mines and he would lay down and just think about how, like, he's underneath a mountain. There's just he's buried under the earth right now, and he would have these dreams of being, like, a buried person who like wakes up and has to come back to life. Or maybe he's in a pyramid and he's an ancient pharaoh who rises up from the depths and comes back. And, like, Linda is, she seems a little off-put, like, even a little more, it's just like he keeps pushing things a little further, where, like, she seems like this is a little weird that he was, like, fantasizing about resurrecting from the dead as a child. Like, that seems a little dark. But, kids are weird. Like, that's the thing, is, like, it's weird, but it's not too weird. It's right on the cusp. Kids are weird. They have sort of weird fantasies and dreams and stuff. Like, the more time you spend around kids, the more you're just like, where do they come up with some of this stuff? Like, where did all this, these couple little things they heard that they put together into this story in their mind, and they'll just tell you this crazy thing, and it's just, that's part of being a kid. But, like, him going back to it as an adult and sort of being like, I still think about these childhood fantasies, and Linda's like, okay.
So my question for you is that, so then the miner comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So was he going to kill her before, if the miner hadn't come in?
It kind of seems that way. Like, why else would he have taken her down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, either he was going to kill her, or maybe he thinks she's the one in such a way that, like, she'll understand that what I'm doing is good, actually. I just have to slowly tease it out to her. So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe he wasn't going to tell her today, but he was, like, laying the groundwork to tell her in a few days, like, he just... I'm not... It's unclear, but yeah, as you said, we don't get to find out, because, yeah, there's... these mines have been decommissioned, but it seems like this guy is, like, he's sort of like a homeless man who just kind of he's a sort of classic tramp. He just kind of goes around and looks for work and looks for things he can do to find money here and there, and goes down into these mines and sees if he can find little bits that were missed over time. But he's like, oh, sorry to interrupt you, but I saw you go in and I was afraid you might get lost. It's pretty windy down here. I thought I'd help you all get back to the surface. And so there's not really anything they can do to be like, no, we're fine. So they're just like, oh, okay. So they all leave together. And I think we go from that to just, like, back in the village, like, the police officer is now searching for Morton. He's looking around at the mortuary. He just can't find him anywhere. And then Peter strolls up and he's like, oh, great. I heard you were working with Morton yesterday. When did you last see him? I'm just trying to, like, establish a time of disappearance so that we can kind of, like, figure out how far we need to search and stuff like that. And Peter answers his questions, but he's a little short. He's not giving him a lot because obviously he's got a lot to hide here. And I think then we go straight from that to, like, Beale's funeral.
With Morton in it.
Yes, yeah. So we're gonna be burying this whole thing. And as we don't get much of the funeral. It's just kind of, like, wrapping up. And as everyone's leaving, Linda walks over. I think we didn't mention this, but, like, at some point it's sort of casually mentioned that she is a widow. She's very young, but, like, I think her husband died young, and she's just kind of been a widow since then. Yeah, I think when Peter's talking to his dad about, like, hey, is she single? It comes up just briefly. Yeah. But we see her here, sort of, like, standing next to her husband's grave, sort of paying respects on her way out. And Peter's like, so what happened? Like, I heard that you were married once and that your husband died, but I don't really know anything else about it. And she says that, like, he was driving, there was a kid ran out in the road, and he swerved to not hit the kid, and, managed to, like, crash into something, and he died in the process. So, a pretty noble death, an unfortunate accident, but like, he saved a kid in the process and stuff. So we're definitely setting up her husband as being like a good guy who had an unfortunate tragedy. And I think then we cut to like later, Peter goes back out to the mines and he runs into that guy again, the sort of homeless miner. And he's like hauling rocks around in a wheelbarrow. And Peter's like, so what? I thought the mines were decommissioned. What are you doing? And he's like, oh, there's scrap. There's odds and ends. It's enough to get by. And I do this, and then I head on down the road to some other things, and just finding work. But I was getting ready to stop and take lunch. If you want to we can chat. I've got enough food if you want lunch. And Peter's like, yeah, that sounds nice. And then we cut away. So we cut away to Dr. Blood Senior, who has just arrived back. He's been gone for a little while because he had the last little drop in that syringe that he was going to get spectrum tested, and he's excited because it came back, and he's like, so I found out. So there's this rare poison that's mainly used by like South American tribes, and Linda's like, curare? And he's like, yeah, how did you guess? And Peter's like, oh, we were just talking about curare yesterday, just unrelated coincidence, but like I have this other, I have this little vial a friend gave. Don't worry about it. It's totally not related to what you're dealing with, but just funny coincidence, haha. And Linda, meanwhile, is like, I don't know if this is a coincidence. This sounds very suspicious. She's really starting to put things together and be like, Peter might be the bad guy here. But before they can really delve into this too much, the cop arrives again. He's really good about showing up at the worst time to kind of derail anybody else from figuring out what's going on. But he's like, I need your all's help. That there's like an old traveling miner that's been out in the mines lately. He was just found dead. It looks like a beam collapsed and hit him in the head, but I don't know. The beam doesn't seem heavy enough to kill somebody, but he is definitely dead. I'd like your opinion. As doctors, maybe you can see if we're misreading the situation. Dr. Blood Senior is like, so I got the spectrum stuff. It looks like it's curare. That seems strange that there would be this South American poison around here. And the cop's like, yeah, that's weird. And so Peter's like, well, I'll go. I can do the cause of death. I'll do the report. I did the one for Beale. I'm getting good at that. I'll get you another write up. So Peter leaves, and we have Linda and the cop trying to do research. They're reading up on curare to figure out anything they're missing, any information about this very rare poison. And Linda discovers a piece of information that really seals the deal for her, which is that it is only poisonous when introduced to the bloodstream. This is why it's a poison arrow drug. If you take it orally, it has no effect. So Peter being like, oh, it's just honey, and taking a little sip, that was a great trick to fool her until she knows this bit of information, and now she knows that it was a trick. That's when I think Dr. Blood Senior, I think Peter gets back from investigating the miner thing, and him and his dad are talking, and his dad's like, I read your report about Beale's death, and is it possible that he might have had some curare in his blood? You didn't know that was on the table when you did the test, so maybe you didn't test that for that. And Peter's like, no, I'm certain everything in there is 100% accurate. It's good. And his dad's like, I mean, I'm not trying to say you didn't do a good job. I just, I want to make sure that everything's above board because you're looking for, you're setting up your future career here, and I would hate for a simple little mistake to come back and bite you in the end and really mess up your future. And Peter is pretty standoffish about this. And I think that's when, Peter, he's like, or his dad's like, maybe you should like go to a teaching hospital and work under some more experienced doctors and surgeons, and and Peter's like, no, when I was at university, I had enough of people standing over my shoulder telling me what to do. I want to be on my own.
Again, this is his echo of his usual thing. It's like, I don't want to do that. I want to go further. I don't want people holding me back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, the police officer shows up to kind of interrupt things. He's here to get that second, death certificate or cause of death report. And Peter's real snarky about it. Like, I don't know. I mean, Dad doesn't like my first one, so maybe he should, do a check on this one as well. And his dad's like, I'm trying to help. I'm just your dad. I'm trying to. I've had a little more experience as a doctor, but he kind of backs off. He's like, okay, this is clearly upsetting Peter. I'm not going to push it. And when the cop reads it, he's like, is it possible that curare poison could have been the tests you ran? Would curare poison have shown up? And Peter's like, oh yeah, definitely. But it was not in either of these guys. So definitely not. So I think at this point, the police officer's like, so we have curare poisoning showing up, and then also a bunch of people dying who are not poisoned. Like, that seems fishy to me. But he does leave. And then we have like that night, Linda talking to Dr. Blood Sr., and she's like, I'm worried about Peter. There's a lot of weird stuff going on, and I'm afraid that he's mixed up in something. We should check on him. And Dr. Blood's like, sure. So I think he sends her to the mortuary, and she ends up finding him there just with his vial of curare, injecting the miner. And he sees her seeing him and tries to chase her down. So at this point, whatever was gonna happen at the mine, it doesn't matter. Now he knows, like, I gotta kill her. She's on to me. And she's going to try to stop me. So he he chases after her, and he's like, everybody's trying to stop me when I'm on the brink of this great discovery. I don't know why everybody's getting in the way of my greatness, And she's like, again, echoing what everybody else has said. You can't kill someone for science. That's not, you can't make, or, better mankind through murder. That's not possible. And she kind of is, as I said earlier, like, if you're deciding who gets to live and who gets to die, that you've gone down the wrong path. And he's like, no, I have the right to make those kind of decisions as a doctor and a scientist. I can create life and I can take it away. And she's like, you sound like Lucifer. Like, this sounds like, this is pure evil, like, devilish talk here. And he's like, yeah. It almost feels like, again, a little like nod to like the Miltonian stuff of like the Frankenstein novel. Like, when you have someone say Lucifer specifically, I mean, I know Lucifer is a biblical figure, but when you hear that name, I usually am thinking of Paradise Lost more than like the Bible. Sure. So he's like, no, I'm doing what's right here. But then there's like a sound in the next room. And he kind of like is distracted, goes to see what it is, and while he's checking, Linda quickly escapes, wisely, realizing that he's probably going to try to kill her here. But what Peter finds in the next room is just like the miner. I think his hand like slipped off the slab and like knocked something, so it's nothing. But now Peter knows, like, he's on a time crunch now. People are going to start hunting him. So he carries the miner out of the mortuary. And then I think the next thing we see is Dr. Blood, Linda, and the police officer arriving there. But of course, Peter's gone. The miner's body is gone. But Peter did accidentally drop his vial of curare behind. And so at that point, the officer gets on his radio and is putting out an APB, basically like, we know who the killer is. I need all the backup I can get. Nearby towns, send your cops. We need we need to hunt this guy down because he is, a mass murderer at this point. But Peter, he is fully gone insane at this point. As we were hinting earlier, he doesn't have a body to move this heart to. What is he going to do with it? And instead, he keeps going on about how, like, I could bring back, a great scientist, a great important leader. I can bring back great men using the hearts of less great men. That seems to be his whole thing.
Right.
But he doesn't have a great man that he's trying to revive right now. So instead, he goes and digs up Linda's dead husband, which she's been a widow for a while. So this is a crazy thing to do. Like, you would want to transplant this working heart into a fresh body, not someone who's been buried a while.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we see, like, he digs it up, and, like, this body is, they've done, like, decay makeup. He has, like, moss growing on his skin. He's very dead.
Yeah.
So I think he ends up dragging the corpse down to the mine, and he's starting the process. And I think that's when, like, cut away to Dr. Blood and Linda back at his house. They're like stressed. They don't know what to do. And Dr. Blood's like, Linda, you should get some rest. Like, there's nothing we can do tonight. The police are on it. And then we have down in the mine, Peter has revived this corpse. It is now sitting up, and it is, very zombie looking. It is, it's like a classic sort of like, Romero looking zombie, just like painted like a pale gray or whatever, and like green mossy stuff on it. And he keeps saying, "You are Steve Parker. You are Steve Parker. Speak." And the corpse says, "Linda." So he's, he seems to have his memories. This is working, which is again crazy. Like, this brain would be completely rotten. Like, there would be nothing in there. But for this movie, it's working. And we cut to Linda, who, has gone to bed per the doctor's instructions. And Peter has snuck into her room, and he's like, "Don't make a sound. Come with me." And he kidnapped her and drags her to the mine, where he introduces her to her husband, who is back from the dead. And this is, it's insane to have done this at all, but it's even more insane when he starts trying to explain why he's done it, which is like out of some sort of jealousy. Like, it's a romantic jealousy thing where he's like, you didn't believe in my science because you were still so hung up on your dead husband, and this rotting, shambling corpse you see before you, that's who you've rejected me for. And she's like, "No, I was upset that you were doing evil science. I know my husband's dead. I wasn't trying to you brought him back from the dead. That wasn't me." And she says, "If I thought you were insane, if I thought this was just madness, I think I could forgive you for that. But you're not. I think you're evil. I think you have given up on the concept of good. And this man that you have standing before me is not my husband. That's not Steve Parker. That's something that you've brought up from hell. And I want nothing to do with that." Sure enough, zombie Steve immediately just tries to attack Linda. He's not her husband. He is something else. Which again feels very zombie-like. You have the zombie movie where as soon as somebody switches and becomes a zombie, they no longer care about their loved ones. They only want to hurt and kill and get brains. And that sort of causes Peter to snap out of it. And he starts trying to protect Linda. He doesn't want this zombie thing to kill her. So we have Peter fighting the corpse that he's just brought back to life. Again, like we talked about last week, this is sort of where it really cements itself as a Frankenstein movie, where like the creator and the creature have to fight.
Right.
And as they fight, they're like knocking over a bunch of equipment in the lab, including a bunch of like canisters of various chemicals, and suddenly like smoke is coming up. Like it seems like, you start haphazardly Yeah, it seems like like a lot. I think people, it's like if you're using the wrong cleaning supplies, sometimes if you mix two things, suddenly you've created like a very toxic gas or whatever. It kind of feels like that. Like suddenly this smoke coming up, I think is like dangerous. So eventually, like Peter and Steve sort of like collapse to the ground as smoke's rising up, and he's like choking Peter to death, but they both end up collapsing dead. I think the chemicals is what does it in the end. But while they're fighting, Linda manages to get out, and before the chemicals are too overpowering. So we have like just like a quick sort of final scene where she's like rushing away from the mines. She gets to Dr. Blood Sr., who's like comforting her, as like, all the police sort of also converge on the scene and all rush into the mine to deal with the aftermath. And that's the end. Like we get a pretty classic sort of like abrupt ending. Like we haven't had one of those in a while, but a classic monster movie thing is just the monster's dead, the bad guy's dead, end of movie. We don't need to waste our time anymore. And sure enough, as soon as we know Linda's safe and the monster and Peter are dead, we're done.
Yeah, I mean that action sequence was actually like 5 minutes, really, right? I mean,
yeah, it's pretty quick, and then after they die, I mean, we're talking maybe 45 seconds left of the movie. Like it is.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
over.
I mean, the movie is pretty, just kind of just goes along, and then suddenly it's zombies and attacks, and and I made this for you, and out of nowhere,
Yeah, there's definitely like this has some issues in the middle, I would say. Like there's definitely like it starts out like, as we said, it's acting like it wants to be a mystery, and then even if you're slow to follow the clues, it explicitly tells you by the time Peter is looking for George Beale, which is like, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes into this hour and a half movie. Like there's no question the mystery is over, and then we spend a lot of time where it's just like everybody else trying to figure out the mystery, and it feels we didn't need like the 3 other deaths or whatever. I mean like we just talked previously about the creature with the atom brain, and in that the cops are on top of it, people are figuring things out very quickly. And in that case, there's a lot of weird supernatural stuff that they're having to like make a lot of leaps in their deductions. Whereas here, a lot of people are getting a lot of pretty explicit clues very early on, and they're not following them until way too late. And it feels like it should have, if they had tightened up that middle, we could have gotten more of an explanation about why he's doing, like we could have had an actual body, like my professor that I did like and who supported me and then who died suddenly, I'm trying to bring him back, or I'm trying somebody like an actual person that I want to save.
If we had any idea of what he was doing and what his option, yes, exactly. If there was anything he was possibly working towards, and it was one step after another, but there was just nothing. There was nothing going on. I mean, there was the beginning, and then there was the ending, and in the middle there was, otherwise you had a pretty nice landscapes and some cool old cars to look at. That's about it.
Yeah, I like.
Blood,
I think because
Blood's a likable guy. I mean, he's kind of cool looking, guy, and the relationship with the girl was kind of cool for a bit, but it's not enough for the whole thing.
Yeah, I think because once the mystery is over for us as the viewer, he like kind of loses a lot of his like sympathetic qualities because we don't know why he's doing this. We just know he's doing bad stuff. And if we like got some sort of clue right there that like he's trying to save somebody important, or he's like somebody important to him, like if it wasn't just this vague like science, if it was like someone that I love, my mom or whatever, you know, somebody, then that would like carry us over to feeling like, yeah, he's going about it the wrong way, but yeah, I understand. Like, we all can relate to that sort of feeling of like, I would do anything to have this person back in my life or whatever. But because we don't have that, there's just this middle part where we're just mad at him and we don't understand what's happening, and then it's there's not even a payoff really for that. Like, yeah, I this movie it's fun. It has a lot of like interesting little bits, but it definitely feels like something that could have been like tightened up. You know, again, looking back at the at Creature with the Atom Brain, which there's some similarities to them for sure. But Adam Brain is like tight, you know, like that. I think that's that Kurt Siodmak thing. Like he knows how to write and he knows how to make everything matter. Everything leads to the next thing, and it all comes together in a very satisfying way. Whereas here, it feels like they set a lot of stuff in motion and then they just kind of ran out of steam and didn't know where they were going exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have liked to see him. He got the heart, and then he got the guy, but then the guy died, and then he needed to get another guy. And then, you know, if he was getting pieces along the way, that would have helped a lot. But I didn't even know what the fuck he was doing along the way at all until about easily 2/3 of the way through. And then he says, I got the heart, but I can't do it. And I don't, and then I didn't even know what he was doing until literally the last 5 minutes or so. So it was like maybe the last 10 minutes. So it was like, that just doesn't do it for me, you know? Just didn't work.
And it's not even like if they were trying to trick the audience or something, but it doesn't, like, he didn't have a body. He didn't seem like he knew what he was doing until suddenly he went crazy and decided to resurrect her husband to be mean to her. It really fizzles out in like a kind of nonsensical way at the end, which was a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, it was stupid. Yeah, it's too bad. I don't know. It seemed like that guy. I don't know. I was looking at the Sidney J. Furie was the director, and he'd made a couple of movies, so it seemed like I don't know. It seemed like they could have done something better. I don't know. It's surprising.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's got a good look. Like it's, you know, I think Creature with the Atom Brain was obviously like a bigger studio production, whereas this, you know, definitely, I don't think it's like an indie film, but I think it was like a smaller budget, you know, on the cusp of exploitation kind of film. And for all that, it looks good. You know, I think a lot of that owes to the great settings that they chose. So it's worth seeing just because it's a beautiful movie. Like, it just looks great. But yeah, it definitely just has some problems near the end. That's unfortunate, but you know, it's still fun. It's just not as good as it could have been, and that, you know, is always disappointing when it's like this had potential and it just didn't quite live up to it.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I were pretty okay with it, but you can imagine whoever, because this probably was like if you've seen the posters and the trailers and all that, you must have been really unhappy when you went and saw this movie, you know? In the 60s, you know? And like, you went to the drive-in, all right, we're going to see Dr. Blood's Coffin. Oh, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be just a bore, man, you know? You know, a double bill. And you drive in, and you're like, what the fuck? This is terrible, you know? Just bored out of your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, which is definitely. I mean, that was definitely like a common thing back then. Was just like, we'll tack it onto the double bill, and the title's great, the poster looks good. Once people have given us their money, we
I
don't care
know.
if they liked it or not.
Oh, that moment when they broke the syringe. Oh, that scared me. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like I said, like it's not the best thing, but if you've got some time to kill, there's some fun bits, and again, I think this one's on Tubi. I'm pretty sure, isn't that where? So
Yeah.
you can find it
Yeah.
pretty easily if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
It's more like a fun movie for just like the aesthetics and the vibes than like an actual plot. But that's fine sometimes if you want a movie that you don't have to like stress out about keeping up with the plot because there's barely one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for the cars probably.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Well, I think. Do you have anything else to add? I think that's pretty much all I've got to
I
say.
think that's it. If anyone else can find a better another coffin, let me know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think as I mentioned last week, I think Hayden and I think are going to start doing the Donovan's Brains movies. So I think we'll get some more stuff from Kurt Siodmak next week.
Oh wow!
So I think we're gonna there's several of those. I think we're gonna try to do a couple of them. I think there's a couple that might be lost, but there's like I want to say like 6 different Donovan's Brain adaptations. So we haven't done a big series with Hayden yet, and so I think we're gonna try to do that.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, so we're excited to get into that. Join us next week as we begin with, I think the first one is The Lady and the Monster is the title of that one. So we'll be talking about that next week.
Cool.
And as always, you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast, and you can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. And we're also on YouTube and at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where there's all kinds of bonus episodes. So you can get, 2 episodes a week if you go over there and see what we're up to there. We talk about TV shows and comics and all kinds of stuff. So we'd love to have you. And I know we mentioned it last week. I guess we can tease again or promote again. If you haven't checked out Tim's book, All His Damn Mother's Sons, you should definitely track it down. Pelicanesis is the publisher. I believe you can find it on Amazon and stuff like that as well. But highly recommend that. Definitely get that if you haven't yet. It's a great sort of alternate history where what happens if Elvis died, and all kinds of terrible things happen. But it's super exciting, and there's a thrilling kind of quality similar to the movies we've been talking about lately. Like there's there's some crime stuff happening, some gangster adjacent people interacting with one another, and highly recommend it.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate you. They appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I look forward to the next episodes.
Yeah. I hope you enjoy the next ones, and of course, we'll get you back on here again soon. I like checking in with you every now and then. It's always a good time to.
Well, I always appreciate it. It was a lot of fun the last 2 episodes, so it was really great, man.
All right.
Feature and dead blood.
All right. Well, then, until next time, to be continued.
Looks like you've survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman, Eric Velasquez, and Hayden Orr. Follow us online at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.